Thank you. I see how I do today with or without my note cards. And I've also got this mooncake here, just a little piece. Think about the best mooncake you ever had. Remember where you were. I remember every year going with my mother to Chinatown in San Francisco and enjoying this important part of our culture. I also want you to remember standing in line. Think about the baker inside, smiling. Kevin is an amazing young person I met this summer who dreams of being that baker. Let me tell you about Kevin. Kevin is incredibly bright and sincere. He loves bringing joy to many kinds of people. Let me tell you something else about Kevin. Kevin dropped out of high school. He lacks confidence. When he tells his story, he weeps openly. How could this be? Why would someone like Kevin do something, make a decision that leaves him 40% less likely of becoming that baker? Here's the reason. Kevin suffers from a condition called cerebral palsy. For Kevin, cerebral palsy makes it difficult to move and more difficult to speak. Kevin has a disability, but his problem isn't his disability, it's the way he's treated. His father petitioned the school to stop the bullying, but the school did nothing. When his father continued to complain, he was arrested and held in custody for 15 days. Still, there was little that Kevin or his father could do to stop him from being treated so badly. Eventually, he dropped out of school. Kevin is just one of 23 students this year that I interviewed during a summer camp for youth with disabilities. Kevin is just one of 86 billion people in China with a disability. 2006, when I first came to teach at Guangzhou English Training Center for the Handicapped, I had never worked with persons with disabilities before. In fact, I was ignorant. But as I recall the faces of students, I see their strength, their brilliance, and their enduring beauty. The true disability is to give up, not the disability itself. I'd like to share today very real stories of students in the college and the difficulties they face. I'd also like to describe the environment in the school that gives them confidence to believe in themselves. And I hope we can talk about what we can do together to help these young people realize their dreams, and in so doing, realize our own dreams. Rather than just tell you, let's hear directly from two of them. So lean in, listen closely, as Michelle and Joe talk about their difficulties in finding themselves and how they belong in society.
Before I studied TEDx, I was the only one that people with disability in my area. So I don't have friends that's with disability. I don't have classmates. So even though, yeah, I have several schoolmates with disability, but during that time, I was afraid to come close with them. Yeah, I don't want to be friends with them, just afraid. And then after I studied TEDx, and then I have a lot of friends that with disabilities. Or I would think that I was afraid to talk about disability. I'm not afraid anymore, and I'm interested in this area, in these topics, and I would love to share it with others. So like, before I learned about this topic, I would thought that my disability is my fault. I'm different. If people don't know about disability like me before, I will just ignore someone who has disability. Yeah, and maybe like my parents, they will worry about their kids. Just like maybe they don't have future. And they need to take care of them in their whole life. So, useless, no, unable. Yeah.
Actually, since I was a child, I've been hiding myself. I remember one time very clearly when I was at elementary school. We had the sport, the PE lesson, and then suddenly it rained heavily, and everybody got wet. And we went back to the classroom, and all the boys took off their shirt because it's all wet, right? But only me, I still keep my shirt on. And at the time, all the classmates, especially the boys, look at me, stare at me. Why didn't you take off your shirt? It's because at that time I feel ashamed to show my hand like this, you know. So, and finally I took it off after they have discussed a lot about me. So what's going on with your hand? It's okay, just take it off. So I take it off, and at the time I feel everybody then came over to me and looked at my hand. And that's the first time probably I feel I'm the center of the classroom, and I feel a little bit, of course ashamed a little bit about my hand, but not very strong. And then I start to feel actually it's okay to show what I am, right?
In China today, there are 86 million persons with disabilities. Yet, when we think about it, we rarely see them in public spaces, schools, workplace. Why is that? In China today, persons with disabilities face discrimination and misunderstanding in most every aspect of their lives, from school to work to family. In school, students that we interviewed this summer identified lack of support from teachers and negative attitudes from peers as the most urgent changes needed. Unlike Kevin, 35% of persons with disabilities over 18 never get beyond primary school. 43% are illiterate. How can students stay in school when other students bully them? And how can students learn when teachers refuse to offer adaptive learning materials? This, of course, affects the ability to find work. A recent study found that the employment rate for persons with disabilities in China, less than 30%. Still, it's not without hope. There are more opportunities. In cities like Guangzhou, there's a quota tax from the government which encourages more companies to hire persons with disabilities. As well, well-educated students from the college who get placed in office jobs, they do better than most. Still, discrimination continues in many forms. Limited opportunity for advancement, limited job security, and unequal pay. Similar with Michelle, at home, traditional thinking about disability considers this a family problem. As a result, many youth with disabilities fear bringing a burden to their families and blame themselves for their disability. In marriage, stigma around disability becomes a real obstacle to gaining approval. Though they are thwarted in opportunities for work, learning, and love, these problems continue to be ignored. The very things that make us human are frustrated for 86 million in this country. We're not here only to talk about problems, but also hopes and solutions. Remember Kevin? He still hopes to be that baker. He still dreams. His story and the stories of Michelle and Joe show us that there's still hope. Joe talks about being afraid. He's afraid of being seen for who he is. But then he wonders, what if I was able to bike across the country? Watch as he talks about his dream, his passion to let others see who he is.
So I went on my bike trip in 2010. My biggest expectation is to make a change. And when a chance comes to me, I just want to go for it. Because for me, it seems not many chances like that will occur in my life. So I think this is the right time to do something, to make a change. So I just take the decision. When I went on my bike trip, and especially at Tibet, I got this kind of feeling again, riding alone, because we ride at different speed. Sometimes I ride alone, and I feel I got that feeling very strongly again, and then I took off my shirt again, and just wanted to show others, even there's no anyone there actually. I just want to show this is who I am. When people question us about whether we can finish this trip, they kind of think we cannot finish it. It's impossible to do this thing since you have disabilities. But I would just reply with, just wait and see, and we'll do it, and we can make it. I think it's so comfortable just being yourself. You don't care about others, how do they look at you, and whether they have stereotypes on you or not. You live like a free man. You don't need to consider so seriously that they look down on me or not. I don't care about that much now, because I got my talents. I feel confident about myself.
What I learned from other people with disability is like some of them are still really eager to pursue their dream, even though they're people with disability. Yeah, I think they're great. I admire them a lot. And I also trying to be a person like this. Yeah, but still some, I will, I know that they still have kind of problem like me, like mine, like cannot communicate with family and or like afraid to make friends with others with disability. They still have some, and I overcome this problem already. So I also want to like share my story with them, because I learning like I want to hear different stories from others, because their story inspired me a lot, or help me to understand disability or realize what I want. I think this is a very good way. So I also want to be a person that's sharing my experience with others, So maybe it also can help them a little bit. Not much, but little bit.
As Michelle states, we can ignore or we can do something. Even small actions count. Basically, it's this. We need to, one, look beyond costs to see the untapped opportunity. For innovation to occur, we must see needs as opportunities. Persons with disabilities today are an underserved market. Instead of ignoring, seek to understand and accommodate. This can happen at many levels. Entrepreneurs can recognize building ramps to their restaurants, involve costs, but it's also an opportunity to bring more customers. The same goes for educators and employers, making workspaces and schools accessible. Let's not take for granted how solutions like these change not only the lives of persons with disabilities, but all of us, the elderly, children, and pregnant women as well. We also need to see the talent to help us pursue our own dreams. Persons with disabilities are some of the most talented in the world. When we see who they really are, they also invite us to pursue our own dreams, to leave behind our limited and shallow excuses and pursue our own dreams. Thank you very much.